So I can remember moments in my life in which someone confessed a struggle, confessed something that they were going through. And in that moment, even though nothing had changed in my life, all of a sudden, I felt this sense of relief that I'm not alone, I'm not isolated in this. And so this is what we want to do in this next series, is we want to share the struggle and not the stuff that we're just making up that everyone says they struggle with, but the real issues that we actually deal with on a day in, day out, week in, week out basis with leadership that fatigues, distracts, and discourages. And so we're glad you're here today as we start our series, Confessions.
Welcome. You're listening to the Leading Hope Podcast. My name is VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your busy day. Become a better leader. If you're new, we release a new episode every Wednesday. Easiest way to remember is to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Also, share this with a friend on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. And please rate and review, or both, on Apple Podcast. A few extra minutes will absolutely help get this podcast in the hands of so many leaders just like you, trying to get better just like we are. Visit leadinghope.online to get updates, find out more about the Leading Hope community. Today, Kevin, is episode 192. It's a new series titled Confessions.
Yep.
And we'll start in the first one with, and I love this, I always feel behind. Always. Always feel behind.
Like constantly.
Always is never ending.
That is an accurate statement.
That's it. This is going to be exciting.
Yes.
A lot of people will say, that's me. Like right off the gate.
And I didn't want to get into, like, as we got into this series, I didn't want to throw out a whole bunch of stuff that I don't struggle with.
Yeah.
That I know a lot of people do struggle with. Like, I don't struggle with imposter syndrome. I don't struggle with comparison.
Yeah.
Those just aren't. And so, like, I understand, like, many people do. It just felt inauthentic for me to say, hey, here's my struggle, but it's not really my struggle.
Right. That's good.
But
No.
I do always feel behind. And I think it comes in a bunch of different areas. When we look at, and I know this sounds ridiculous. So, like, you would say, like, I always feel behind. I don't always feel behind in an area. I always feel behind in all areas.
Oh, really?
And so I just go, like, when I look at the culture that we're developing, I am thrilled with where we are. But I always feel like in that moment, like, oh, we should be up here. I wish we were actually up here.
Wow.
When we look at our systems, I'm like, this is great. These things are working. But because these things are working, it means these other things are breaking. These other pieces aren't working.
Yeah.
When I look at our growth, I'm like, this is great. And it's like this, like, it's this stupid rhythm that goes back and forth. Like, if we're not growing, I feel like we should be growing. But as soon as we're growing, I'll feel like, oh, now it's exposing these problems and these issues.
Which makes you feel behind.
Constantly.
So what should someone get from this episode?
Well, I want to get into some, like, helpful stuff at the end in terms of how we actually deal with this. Is not meant to be like it's the Leading Hope podcast, not the
please.
Commiserating in Misery podcast.
Yeah.
But just that sense of, like, I do want people to know that, like, for me personally, I always feel just this, like, low level frustration about where I am, where we as an organization are, and where I think we should be.
It's good.
Is this struggle for you at all?
Absolutely. All of those. I feel everything you just said.
Good.
Yeah.
Is there, like, a spot where you feel it worse than others?
It changes. You know what I mean? I think it's because there's so many different things that you're trying to, not necessarily always try to improve, but make sure everyone's understanding why they are doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's in different areas of the entirety of the organization. So you feel like you caught up that one area and you're like, okay, it's good and it has the potential to be what it needs to be. And then while you're working there, you're going, the other thing is not working to that same level, and now I got to switch gears.
Yep.
And then you switch gears, and then that thing you thought was going to be what it needed to be and get where it go, it stops. You know what I mean? So then you jump off. It's like, I don't know what the analogy is, but it's like trying to just you've got two trains running down the track, and you're trying to jump from train to train to throw the coal in it to make sure it's going.
To make sure they keep moving.
You're jumping back. It's like a cartoon. It's like coal, 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 coal. It's going. Jumping over the other train.
Yep.
Coal, coal, coal. Like,
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, oh, I feel behind in some area all the time.
And some of it for me is like and we've talked about this before, the idea that like, hey, there will always be issues.
Yeah.
Accept it. Embrace it. You're a leader. You're there to solve problems.
Yeah.
And so like, I understand that to go like, there will always be an issue within our staff, within the church, within our systems, within our finances, within my kids.
Oh, yeah.
The dishwasher broke the other night.
Yep.
Like there's always going to be something.
Chase split his eye last night.
Chase split his eye open last night.
I'm like trying to get some social media stuff done. Eye split and messed me up. I felt behind last night.
Yeah. But it's like, it's not just the fact that there's always something that's wrong, that's off. It's the feeling that's accompanied with it of, and it's not even obligation. It's, I wish we were actually in this spot, or the knowledge to go. Sometimes I feel like the gift would be obliviousness of patterns.
Okay.
Because when you understand the patterns of how like works, you understand like, hey, growth in this area is going to mean complexity in these other areas.
Oh, yeah. We've had a podcast on that.
And so when we grow in one area, like everyone else is like, look at this. This is amazing. Yeah. And I'm like sitting there like, oh no, we've got to, it means this and it means this. And we're behind on that.
Yeah. Let's create this incredible environment in our lobby that people want to stay at church and never leave. Our lobby's really small. We created a problem.
And now because of the interaction in the lobby, the air conditioners can't keep up with it.
Right.
So we just sit and sweat in our growth.
Feel behind, but these are real problems.
Yes.
That we feel.
Good. So we want you to know
There's
first off.
There's the groundwork for you.
Yeah. If you feel behind, so do we.
You're in good company. Let's all feel behind together.
Always. So if I can talk through just kind of like this isn't fixing it.
Yeah.
Okay. This is just understanding it. So I want to take you through just two things.
There is some hope here, right?
We'll get there at the end.
Okay, good.
Okay, but I want people to understand what's taking place as to why you feel behind. There's a couple reasons.
That's good.
For one, very obvious, is you can see the patterns of complexity that other people can't.
That's good.
And so it's just really simple, is to go, hey, if this good thing happens, it also means we need to fix these other things. We need to go through these different issues. With just like real like low level life understanding. Like if you are living in a 1-bedroom apartment and you get married, you're good. If you have a kid, which is a great thing, you probably need another room.
Yep.
You need to figure that out. And I say that like, I know some people think that's a dumb example. I've had conversations with people who didn't realize that the space they lived in was too small.
Yep.
Until their children were there. And like shocked, like, we just never thought we'd outgrow this house. And then you had 5 kids. like, did no one see that coming on there? I apologize for my jokes. So I just want you to...
Is there anyone you're talking about specifically?
No. We just need to keep talking.
Okay. I just want to make sure. There's more there that we need to talk about. We can change the episode name.
We need to acknowledge first off that you can see patterns of complexity that other people can't, which is a gift. And so part of what you need to acknowledge is that your frustration helps spare others from their frustration. The issue and difficulty that you feel is your ability to see ahead, which causes other people not to be stuck in the moment. So be grateful for the gift, even though it may be frustrating in the moment. The other reasons why you might feel behind. For me, I have a picture in my head of what success looks like that is distorted. And I would just say it is built on either other people's success, different people's contexts, different people's view of where I should be, or even my own view of what success looks like that actually isn't grounded in reality. And I would just want to acknowledge at times, like, there is a picture at times that I operate in of a utopia in which everything is working, everything is moving smooth, and no one has any issues. I'm not saying like no one else placed that upon me.
Yeah.
That is my going, hey, this is what I want life to be like. And that is not reality. And it never will be reality. And as long as I hold on to that distorted view of what success looks like, I will always be frustrated with the reality that I live in.
Yeah. But defining it is an actual helpful.
As defining it as helpful, as long as it has even the potential to be accurate.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I heard it said the other day, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is I can't remember where I heard it from, but they said a lot of people, even at a college age level, that people stay in these droughts in their life of joy because they never defined what joy is for their life.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
And so they could be living in joy, not realizing.
Not because they didn't define it for themselves. They allowed other people to define it or had unrealistic expectations of what joy is for their life. And so, like in this purpose, like if you don't define it, someone else is going to define it for you, and it will never be real. On the other side of that is define what this needs to look like for you that should be reasonably.
And I think that's
not reasonably,
the piece.
but
no, that's the piece that's key. Like I'm okay with like super high expectations.
Yeah.
But there is a point in which those high expectations are not possible.
Right. Based on what you have.
So if I could say like modern home appliances last somewhere between 5 and 10 years.
Okay.
That's their shelf life. If I have the view in a house that is 12 years old that none of our appliances are going to break. Yeah. And every time they break, I'm frustrated.
Oh.
That is unrealistic.
Yeah.
I should expect that to happen.
Yeah. Are you a subscriber to Consumer Reports magazine?
No, I'm not. Stop it. What's happening? So I want to acknowledge that you have an unrealistic picture of what life should look like. The other piece of that, and this isn't nearly as much my struggle, but I do know people who struggle with it. And that is the sense of, especially when you allow someone else's success to clarify, to dictate your picture of success.
Yep.
And let me just make it real simple. Like when you look at other people's Instagram feed and you see all the incredible things that are happening in your life, and now that's your expectation that the exact same things are happening in your life. I hope this metaphor makes sense. When you go running, sorry. If you happen to go running, not when, if you happen to go running by yourself, you would never feel behind because it's your pace, it's your race. But if you challenge someone else to a race, now you have the potential to feel behind.
Yeah.
And so just this sense of like, if all of a sudden life becomes competitive with the people around you, and so many people are competitive with the people around them, and those people have no idea that you're competing with them. So we just acknowledge that.
That's funny.
But when life becomes competitive with the people around you, all of a sudden now you have the potential to feel behind because you're comparing your pace to other people's pace. And I just want to put in there for a second, like to say like, hey, it is your race. You're not running with anyone else in life. There is no ticker tape finish at the end with anyone else, and all of a sudden you got to get ahead of the rest of them. And so don't fall into that trap of checking out everyone else's pace and assuming that now I need to get ahead because I now realize that I'm behind.
That's so good, man. And this, I'll just say this, we've had a couple conversations recently about like our goal setting and such with our one-on-ones. And Matt and Caleb both know this is like, the way that we actually get this, that we don't feel behind, or at least attempt to be. We're always going to feel it, but
yes.
How do we lessen that?
Yes.
Right? Is making sure that our expectations meet for what we need to accomplish in this season. If it's not, then you're always going to really feel behind the entire time. But if we agree that in this season, this thing needs to happen, this other thing that we wanted to happen needs to move to the next season, you feel a little less behind.
Yep.
Which is always the goal, is to feel a little.
It's
in my
great.
mind, is to feel a little less. If I'm not feeling behind at all, I'm probably not pushing the envelope.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
no, that's
but
exactly right.
If I always feel like super behind, then I'm going to be frustrated always.
And we've talked like several times before on the thing I use constantly, the metaphor of the rubber bands.
Yeah.
And to say, if the distance between is nothing and the rubber band goes limp, there's no growth,
right?
Because you're not being stretched in any way.
All.
But on the other hand, if it is
Constant
so
tension.
tight that it's about to snap, that means you're about to snap.
Such a helpful view.
So I want to get into just like real simple on that, and it fits with the idea of the rubber band of this is what I do organizationally and personally.
Ooh, I don't even have to ask you.
To
tell us.
Look at this.
How about that?
To lessen that feeling. I'm never going to eliminate that feeling, because otherwise the title of the podcast would be a lie. It would just be like, I occasionally feel behind. No, I always feel behind.
Right. But there's always a level of that.
Yeah. I live with a low level frustration.
Yeah.
I don't live with a high level frustration.
Right.
And I know people who do.
Oh, yeah.
And they're about to snap.
Yep.
And I don't want that to be the case for you. So just real simple, okay? This is what I do to not feel behind. I define where I am, not where I should be, because that is a trap. Not where I think that my life happened to turn out, not where other people think I should be. I define where I am currently. Hey, this is what's good. This is what's going well. I look at all of my life. For organizationally, we look at all of the organization. We do strengths, weaknesses, missing, confusing.
Yep.
SWOT analysis, whatever we got to do, whatever metric. We gave you the evaluation pieces a couple weeks ago. Like, hey, I just go through that, and I just want to define, hey, this is where I am right now. I define where I am and where I can be, where I want to be. Not if everything went perfect, I would be, because I don't expect everything to go perfect. But I just define, hey, where I can be in the near future. In a month, in 3 months, sometimes even over a year.
It's good.
It's got like, hey, this is where I am financially. This is where I am in my relationships. This is where I am in my energy. This is where I am with my friends. This is where the church is.
This is super helpful.
We do this as a team.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, like, let me be clear. I don't invite the whole team to come over and to share. Kevin, this is where you are in your marriage. Kevin, this is where you are with your kids.
Right.
When we do it as a team, we do it about the church as a whole. This is where we are. When I do it personally, I do it just about my life as a whole. This is where I am. Because in what I realized there is, I realize that I at times operate with a distorted view of where I actually am.
Oh, sure.
And I think everyone does that. Just
No
to
doubt
go
about
like,
it.
you don't realize, hey, this is actually struggling. This is actually weak.
Yep.
And if I haven't identified and if I haven't clarified it, I can't fix it. So I define where I am, and I just define, hey, 3 months from now, a year from now, this is where I want to be. And then I just go, this is what it's going to take to get there. And what that does for me is it gives me the sense of progress, which is actually the enemy of feeling behind.
It's good.
Okay. So when we say, like, I always feel behind, the thing that is just I don't know how to say it, the steroid to that terrible feeling of feeling behind is the sense that you're stuck.
Ooh.
And so you counteract the feeling with your behind by clarifying what progress actually looks like. And when you realize that you're making progress, when we do this as our team, we get away and we start with, we name, this is where we were in April. And we wrote that in April.
Yep.
Then we say, this is where we just said we wanted to be in August.
Yep.
How'd we do?
Yep.
And people go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Look at what happened.
Yep. And then your frustration goes down.
Yep. No, it really does.
Right. You know what's really funny, and I was just thinking about this in my own personal life, because this is something I would challenge everyone watching. I would want, and not challenge, I would want to know if it's something you do if you're married.
Yeah.
Like, because for me, I have done this more in the last few years than I ever did. I never did it. I've been married 20 years, never did any of this. What should my marriage look like? What should it be after 20 years?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What should it be? How do I feel about it? Do I feel behind? Like we don't spend enough time together? Or I spend too much time?
Yep.
Right? Like what is that? Right?
It's good.
And we don't do that exercise, and then our marriages would drift apart.
Absolutely.
And we don't talk or we don't communicate, right? All those things. It's because we didn't have an expectation of what it's supposed to be anyway.
And we could say, like, on there, like the feeling within there is
There's
you
no
go,
progress.
We always fight.
Yeah.
You always fight?
Right.
Like always. Like, is your expectation of your marriage that you'll never fight?
Right.
Well, that's stupid. You're gonna fight.
Yeah.
Like, of course it's gonna be a part of
If
it.
you're not fighting, I would question whether you even like them.
Oh, that's if we switch this over to a marriage podcast, we could just take that line and run with it forever.
Right. Like, so, but I mean, I think you wrote that, and it's so a lack of progress is demotivating. So that's what you have to see in order to not, you're always going to feel behind. It's just how much you feel behind.
Exactly.
And that's the way. That's good, man.
Good.
Anything you want to close with this session? I mean, this is a session. Is this a counseling session?
We're going to turn. The rest
that?
of this series is not episodes. These are sessions from here on out.
Yeah, we could just call that.
Yeah, I would just encourage everyone to say, hey, just work through that exercise. Put 30 minutes on the calendar by yourself if you have to. And just go, where am I? Don't lie to yourself. Where are you? And where do you want to be? And what would it take to get there? And I think the key thing within that is to understand that progress is the enemy of that feeling that you are stuck and that you are behind. You will always feel behind if you accept that you are stuck. And when you can sense progress in your life, that feeling is eliminated. One of the things I share with our team is to say trajectory matters more than current location.
That's great.
I am far more concerned about where you're headed than where you are.
That's good. Man, thank you guys so much for joining us. Session 192.
Session 192.
I always feel behind. If you're new to the podcast or haven't yet subscribed, it means the world to us if you did that now. Also, post about it, rate and review, or both. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of so many leaders just like you that are trying to get better. As you can see, we're trying to get better every day. And so we love hearing your stories and how the podcast is working in your life and business. If you have a story, please send that to us, email us, DM us. We would love to hear from you. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.